Hello everyone. Today we are talking about how Greenside went from slums to cinemas. So how are you all? Hope you are all happy and healthy and well out there. Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit of a two-hander, this video. It's a little bit of history. And it's also a little bit of, hey, look what you've got here if you want to come to this area. Because it's not difficult to get to. It's a really sort of adjoining area from Princes Street, just up there and slightly around the corner there, to Leith. That's the top Leith Walk right there. So it is kind of a middle area, and that's the new St James Quarter shopping mall centre, and right beside me the Omni Centre cinema and food complex. So it's a very busy area with lots of things, but it didn't used to be. It didn't used to be at all. In fact, it was not a nice area at one part. So I just want to give you some orientation really here. That is the new St James Quarter shopping centre. That's the John Lewis part of it, obviously, but it's the new St James Quarter shopping centre. Literally, Princes Street is right there. It's right there. The Balmoral Hotel is right there, and I will go up a little bit further and show you in a second as well. And if I turn round and look down there, that is the start of Leith Walk, right there. And right there, we've showed you it before, that sort of where that building work is right there. That is where that used to be houses on that part there, where Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was born. The creator of Sherlock Holmes was born where all those roadworks are happening right now. So yeah, there's a lot going on here, you know, like literally the Balmoral Hotel, Princes Street, St James Quarter big shopping centre, the Omni Centre right here, which is a multi-screen cinema complex. It's the top half there is part of the Glass House Hotel, which is just a little bit further down, just before you get to the Playhouse Theatre, largest city theatre in Europe, with over 3,000 seats right there as well. And in there there's various food complexes, 20 macaronis and a couple of pubs, Weatherspoons and a Slug and Lettuce, and I think a Nando's is in there. So there's quite a few various places you can get food. Of course there is. It's right beside the theatre and the cinema. Of course there's lots of places you can get food. And there's some good non-chain restaurants just slight opposite the theatre and everything as well. So there's a lot going on in this area. So if you ever fancy, you know, if you're just at Princes Street and you just want somewhere near where you can get some food, definitely come in here, head to the Omni, you're probably going to get some food there. Or like I said, there's some beautiful non-chain, local established restaurants just opposite the theatre and things there as well. But especially this area that I'm standing on now did not used to be nice. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've went drinking in this area. And that is all empty. This part of this back end of the Omni Centre, a massive big part there is empty. And it used to be chock-a-block full all the time. It used to be, I think it was Bar Oz. It was either Bar Oz or Oz Bar, I can't remember. I think it was Bar Oz. An Australian themed bar. It was always busy. Ironically, always full of Australians as well. And people actually very international. Very international. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm here to talk about this. This is Calton Hill, right here. I know it just looks like a bunch of trees, but it is Calton Hill right there. So, you know, we've been up there. The National Monument's up there, and all these things. If you haven't seen what's up on Calton Hill, I'll put a link in the corner in the description as well. But we've been up there. It's the beautiful views of Edinburgh. Some of the most iconic views of Edinburgh are taken from up there. And if we look over the edge here, before I look over the edge, just to give you some bearings, that's just behind there is St James Quarter. Where I was just speaking to you is right there. I was just speaking to you right there. And down there, that's the Omni Centre there, theatres. I'm just trying to keep you in your bearings. I just came to the back end here right now to look over here and show you this. This is Greenside Lane. It's just a road. Leads into the car park. There's a car park under here. There we go. car park under there, and down there is the back end of the Edinburgh Playhouse Theatre, where they get, you know, all the sets go into the theatre down there. They all come down this way to get down there. But this, all this area down here, this used to be tenement buildings. I can't remember when they were built. But they were big. They were big. I think they were really tall buildings, really tall tenement buildings. Like the view from Calton Hill essentially saw these buildings. If I can find some old pictures, I will put them in as I'm talking. But these were, I don't know what they were like when they were initially built, but by the time we get to the 1950s, which is where we're kind of starting the story from, these were slum areas. They were not thought of as nice areas. Now, I'm not saying the families in there were by any means, you know, not nice people, but Edinburgh Council wise, looking at the area, looking at this, were said, no, this is not a nice area. And that includes Greenside Square, which is where St James Quarter is built on top of now as well. Now, there used to be houses and things there in the 50s. As you come down Leith Street, I think it is, it comes down to Greenside from Princes Street, if I remember the name of it right. The buildings, the look of the buildings was very much like the two levels of Victoria Street. That sort of really nice buildings down the front, and then that walkway bit at the top. But it actually used to look like that going down there. If you look at some old pictures, it actually looked beautiful. Why they got rid of it blows my mind. Why sometimes the council makes a decision historically, and I'm sure it's the same everywhere, you're like, why did you get rid of that? Yes, okay, maybe it wasn't nice, but maybe you could have worked on it instead of knocking it down. However, the houses here, the tenement buildings, tall buildings, had coming up for 600 people living in them, and there was about 200 and something houses. So they were quite packed together, and they were high, and it was a community in itself, which happens a lot in Edinburgh. The little areas become little communities in themselves. Not a bad thing. But yeah, it was looked upon by Edinburgh Council and the Chief Medical Officer for Edinburgh deemed this space, and I'm assuming Greenside Square as well, is unfit for human habitation. They essentially just gave up on the place. They went, nah, we can't do anything with it. It's not nice. So they knocked it all down. They ripped it all down. They ripped down these tenement buildings, and they knocked down most of Greenside Square and built, I don't know if they built the St James Centre straight away, maybe in the 50s into the 60s when they knocked it down, then built the building. The St James Centre, before it became the new St James Quarter, was definitely a dated building. You know sometimes you look at the buildings and you go, yeah, I know when you were built. It was very much looked of its time and was out of date now as well. And then the bit of ground that I'm standing on now, see, I remember when I was a kid, this wasn't here. Omni Centre wasn't here at all. I remember when I was a kid that it was just a big bit of land that came downhill and down in line with the road behind me rather than the road up here. The roads there were here, but the road there, you have to remember, goes down like that. And the ground was at that level, and it kind of just where the road is there just had a very steep incline of mud, essentially. And I remember when I was a kid, quite young, that it was just an open-air car park. Essentially just a gravelly ground, parking attendant, you come in, park your car here. I remember my dad parking here when I was a kid, so we're talking early 80s. And then I'm talking, we're on to the development of the area now. So it was this area that was condemned and knocked down, and then that was it. People were moved to where, I do not know. And then it became this just piece of land that nothing happened with it. And the front of the Glass House Hotel next door to the Edinburgh Playhouse, I remember that, because I think the front of that, it was a church, and the front of that must have been listed historically, so they were not allowed to knock it down. So the front of the building for years, absolutely years, was kept standing with scaffolding and things behind it, just holding the front of the building up. Literally just the front face of the building, and there was nothing after it. It was just a wall, one wall of the front of the church, and the rest of it was gone because they weren't allowed to knock that bit down. It's still there now. It's still there. It's now the entrance into the Glass House Hotel. And then eventually a multi-storey car park started to get built on this bit of land that I'm standing on, and it's still here. It's underneath here. And I think if I remember right, someone might be able to correct me for this, but I think it was going to be the BBC. The BBC were going to build their Scottish headquarters right here, and it would have been a great spot for it. For some reason they stopped, and it's in Glasgow. That stopped, so that the start of the car park got built, 3 floors of car park underneath me, and then it stopped. This part wasn't here. This part wasn't here. So then the car park existed for about a good 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, with no top. It was a building site. The top of the bits of, metal poles coming up, that iron bars coming up that could have been built on concrete to start creating a building, and it didn't happen. It just stopped. I don't know why. So then the car park was here for a good 10 years, and then eventually they built the Omni Centre here, which is now a multiplex cinema and various food eateries, and the Glass House Hotel. Let's go around and have a look at the Glass House Hotel, and I can show you the front of the building that I meant. So this is the front of the Omni Centre now, and honestly I can remember for a long time, there's the entrance to the multi-storey car park that's still under there. That's where we were just talking there. This is where I started the video. Up there's, that's Leith Street onto, Princess Street, and this is the top of Leith Walk, right here. Just literally, just over that hill is the top of Leith Walk. Anyway, this is the Omni Centre now. Like I said, multi-storey cinema, loads of restaurants, stuff like that. But for years, absolutely years, that was just flat. It was just flat, and it was just the top of a building site that never got built on. And I remember that for so long. The only bit was there was just where that entrance to the car park is. There was kind of a little square building with an entrance and lifts, and you could get down to the car park, which was still active, and they were using the car park. Someone was still making a little bit of money there. Anyway, if we go down here, and there's these giraffes. Look at these giraffes. There's a cut scene from Train Spotting 2 where they run past these giraffes. It's a real shame they cut it out, because look at it. Look at them. Aren't they nice? Anyway, right here it is. You see it starting to poke around the corner here. There's the front of what I said, that they couldn't knock down. Part of this church here, and you can see right here where the start of it joins onto the cinema part there. They weren't allowed to knock that down, so it stayed standing. It was a beautiful big church behind. My auntie and uncle got married in there. Obviously I wasn't alive at the time, but they weren't allowed to knock that down. Look at that. And now it's the front of the Glass House Hotel right here, and adjoined on to the Omni Centre. And I think they've got hotels and rooms, and up there, in fact, look at those curtains shut up there, that's the top, and there's a rooftop terrace with grass on the top and everything as well. But isn't that funny? All of that there had to, for years and years, was just the front half there was keeping standing, with essentially just scaffolding behind it, keeping it there, because they weren't allowed to take it down. And I kind of love that it was still there, just on its own, just standing there. But then you can see how the fact that there was this slummy area there, and you see, if you look at pictures, old pictures of the area, the old buildings were nice. The front half of the buildings with the shops and everything were nicer, especially if you find old pictures of Leith Street heading to Princess Street there. Was stunning, beautiful, and it's a shame it's gone. But there's the Edinburgh Playhouse right there. We've done a couple of videos in there about its history, and that's Leith Walk right there. So there you have it, just a little bit of history for you today, how this area has changed. We could go into more how Greenside Square there, where the new St James Quarter, essentially the same happened. That all got knocked down completely, like a full square of houses, a big area, because that St James Quarter is big, massive area, just completely knocked down. People rehomed, and then they built, I think they built the St James Centre, which has now been knocked down over the past 5 years, and now they have rebuilt and built the St James Quarter, costing £1 billion. And again, we've been there and we've had a look at it. Again, I'll leave a link in the corner and in the description if you want to see it as well. But there you go, a little bit of history just today. History, and come down to this area and appreciate it as well, because you should. This is the start of the link from the new town of Edinburgh to Leith. And remember, Leith was a city in itself. Leith was its own place, and still is in a lot of ways. It's about 100 years. This is where I'm going to another bit. I am really rambling today. Oh, we have not done this for a while. Leith was its own place. It was not part of Edinburgh. And about 100 years ago last year, there was a vote to see if Leith wanted to join the city of Edinburgh. And they said, no, we do not. And they did it anyway. There you go. I just want to show you a little bit here as well. You can see, even though the St James Quarter is open now, they're still working on it, because the hotel part's not open yet, and a lot of the other shops aren't open yet. It's not 100% every part of it is open yet. But this is Leith Street here, and that building that's starting to emerge there, right there. That's the Balmoral Hotel. So that's how close we are to Princess Street right now. And this street here, that's the train spotting, Blackpool bit right there. That's that there. But this here has changed so much. And if I find a picture, I will try to find it to show you what it used to look like and how it's changed to what it is now. Because that is not exciting. You know what I mean? Maybe it will be once these shops down here open a little bit. It'll become a little bit more exciting. It'll get a little bit more character. But when you look at what it used to be here, and this is Greenside Lane here, which I said used to be the way down to the tenement houses and essentially the street. If I walk down here and show you a shot of the street, and you can definitely, I'll see if I can find some old pictures of kind of what this looked like and the character, and put it in as well, so you can see how it's changed. But you know, there was houses here. This was the houses, and this was the way into the houses, and this was Greenside Lane, and this is where you would. This was essentially what got classed as a slum area of Edinburgh, and that's Calton Hill right there. That's the way down. That's what it was. So I'll try to get a picture and show you what that initially that did look like. I know I can find at least one because I've seen it. But yeah, so that would have been the house fronts there, and there were tall buildings, tall buildings. I've got quite impassioned about that today, haven't I? It's been I suppose it's been a while since I've told a good history story now, and fairly modern history. I mean, we're only going back 70 years. For Edinburgh, that is not long at all. I mean, that's like 5 minutes ago to us here in Edinburgh. Remember, the oldest building in Edinburgh is almost 1,000 years old. So it's a tick of a second on a clock for us here. But yeah, so there you have it. Do come down this way. Please come to explore Edinburgh. Come down this side. That'll take you to the top of Leith Walk, and then you're hitting Leith. Then you're really hitting the people of Edinburgh. Well, no, not Edinburgh. Remember, Leith wasn't a part of Edinburgh, but the people of Leith are beautiful. So, but you're still getting the exploring board of the new town. So come down this way and see it for yourself. But when you do come down here, and if you go to the Omni Centre and you try some of the food there, or you try some of the restaurants beside the Playhouse Theatre, or you go to the Playhouse Theatre and see a show, whatever you do when you come, just remember the change in this area in the past 70 years has been immense, and a massive piece of Edinburgh history is gone to this sort of building now. And I know that's very against the sort of stories I tell you. You know, I'm usually telling you how this building is historic and I'm not, I'm telling you how they were ripped down and they were gone. But yeah, there we have it. Hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please remember, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Till next time, bye humans.